But of course, Hustle and Flow got nominated for 2. And the big one was 3 6 Mafia winning their Oscar, which prompted probably one of my most iconic quotes of all time from Jon Stewart, where he said, for those of you keeping it at home, 3 6 Mafia 1, Martin Scorsese 0. What was that moment for you? I mean, were you in attendance? Were you just watching it? And then also, like, on top of that, how did 3 6, get to be a part of the movie?
Well, luckily, 3 6 Mafia had already done some. I'll never forget. When I brought up 3 6 Mafia to John Singleton, he's like, "Oh yeah, man, we'll get Juicy and Paul involved." I was like, "Oh, you know who 3 6 Mafia is?" And he's like, I'll never forget what he said. "Oh yeah, we've made money together." I was like, "What did you make money with?" and so we got this artist, a really great rapper in Memphis named La Chat, as well as Gangsta Boo, and they've been part of that Hypnotized Mind camp, along with Lord Infamous and Kupsa Nika and the Frazier Boy, Lil White. There was this group that Juicy and Paul all kind of put together and made a bunch of albums with these artists through Selecto Hits, which is a local distributor here in Memphis that used to do church music and like country, and then suddenly became the place to go to do rap. So they had a very Memphis experience. They pivoted in a big way. But John, there's this really great story where John flew into Memphis, and I was going to take him over to Juicy and Paul's, but I heard that Juicy was going to give me a call, and then I get a phone call. He's like, "What's up, man?" And so I start talking to him about the movie. And I was like, "So did John tell you about it?" "No, man, I'm just calling." And I was like, "Oh, that's weird. He told me he talked to you about it." "No, John Singleton?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he goes, "No, I haven't talked to John Singleton." And then it dawned on me, and I'm not proud of this moment, that I wasn't talking to Juicy. My friend Al Capone, who's another rapper, had called. And he had heard that I was doing this rap movie. And so I was like, "Oh, Al, I'm sorry. I totally thought you were Juicy J of 3 6 Mafia. You got to forgive me." And he goes, "Hey, man, if I could just have one shot." So literally, while I picked up John at the airport, and while I'm driving him to Hypnotized Mind Camp, I pull over into this studio, and I was like, "I want you to meet my friend Al Capone." And Al Capone started playing music, and John really loved it. And one of the songs was "Whoop That Trick." But at the time, John asked him, "How did this song come about?" And he goes, "Well, it used to be called Beat That Bitch, but I was worried that people were going to think that I was talking about a woman when this is a Tear the Club Up song where you're telling the guys on the other side of the crowd, hey, beat that bitch." And so I changed it to "Whoop That Trick" because I didn't want people to get confused. And John's mind just was blown. He was like, "You got to put that in the script. It's like Terrence has got to start off saying it this way, and then they got to get him into the whoop that trick mode." So anyway, he buys like 3 songs off of Al right there, all three of which appeared in the movie, which is "Whoop That Trick" and then "It Ain't Over for Me," which is like the 3rd song that DJ sings. And then Al Capone also has a song called "Get Crunk" that's over the Crystal Palace skating rink parking lot scene with all the cars, right? So we drive over to Juicy J's place, and Juicy knew that John didn't want to pay him a lot of money for what we were calling the Pimp song. And it was like a song that no one knew yet. We just knew we needed a song about a pimp writing. And Juicy was all like, "And it's too bad you guys aren't going to like mess with me on that Pimp song." And John's like, "Hey man, it's just business, And Juicy goes, "Yeah, but let me play something for you." Juicy plays the beat right there of "Hard Out Here for a Pimp," and pulls out a napkin from Neely's Barbecue, and there's lyrics written on it, and he sings the hook right there. "It's hard out here for a pimp." Does the whole hook, and I see John like listening to this song, And I know what he said. He's like, we got to have this song. This is it. And Juicy was like, yeah, but you got to get down in your pocket, man. You got to get down to the sock, do some business. And so then I go into one room with Fraser Boy and I'm telling him the plot of the movie. And he literally throws a bag of weed in front of me and he guts a cigar and takes out his pen and he's like, you crumble. All right. And so there I am, kind of helping him roll a blunt as he writes an Academy Award winning song, right? So in the next room, like Terrence and Taraji are recording the very song that we're writing. Oh and God. I go into this one room and John is on one side of the room with his sidekick, this old T-Mobile thing they had. Mm-hmm. And Juicy was on his BlackBerry. And they were talking about what strip club they were going to go to that night. And then suddenly, like, there'd be a bing. And Juicy would be like, oh, man, you going to screw me on ringtones? You want my paper on ringtones? And John's like, man, just make an offer. Just make it. and then Juicy would be like, oh, okay. How about that, John? Pick up. Yeah, okay. All right, we'll do that. They were doing the deal.
I love the negotiation happening on the phone. They're not verbalizing.
I was like, this is the most Memphis thing I've ever been a part of. This is you had the hustle of Juicy going like, here's a song. You had Fraser in here writing the lyrics, while we're getting blazed. You got Terrence and Taraji in the next room singing it in this not fancy studio at all. It was a little thrown together, but this little thrown together studio produced some of the greatest rap music out of Memphis, right? And there's John and Juicy doing a negotiation over their devices while discussing which shake joint to attend that night, and then it wins an Academy Award. But I remember when the nominations were announced, it said "Hard Out Here for a Pimp" for Hustle and Flow, and I knew right then we'd win it.
Oh, absolutely.
I was like, if we got nominated, we won it, because there were too many screenings I went to where little blue-haired old ladies were like, it's hard out here. Because I think that if you just are part of the movie and you watch something being created, it becomes yours. Mm-hmm. You may not be into rap. Just like I wasn't when I was 13, I wasn't into classical music. But when I saw Amadeus for the first time, I radically changed my opinion on classical music because I was watching how he was in layers making that music. So if you see somebody in a film being passionate about something and working towards something, it just becomes a worm in your head. You can't get that out of your head. So I knew we'd won it once we were nominated.